Hi guys, welcome back to another video where this is part 2 of containerizing our fast API application. And yeah, we're back at it. Um, so yesterday we were left out by just making our Docker file. So just to recap, this basically installs this version of Python. Now I could do something like slim over here. As you can see, the tag is also coming, but for now I'll just use that. Then this is pretty much seeding into an app directory. So further, all of the commands will be done over here. Then we'll copy our requirements.txt into the app folder, and then we run this command. The no cacher means no need to cache the installation files because you won't be running pip install those many times, but this is optional. Then we copy rest of the things inside of this, and then we run this command. The reason why this sequence is followed is because we will change the source code more often than we will be changing the requirements.txt. I mean, it could be the case that we will have more, we could have a single module that there is an extra, but most of the time we'll be changing certain code, and so this step will be changing a lot. So Docker cannot cache this. And once this level is changed, it cannot trust any further level, so you have to run that again. But this is very fast. The slowest steps are these two, right? I mean, the slowest step is exactly this one. So you want to make sure up until this point all of these things are not changing, so that Docker can just use the cache results instead of doing it from scratch, right? So with that recall, let us now go into talk. I think what he said is, now we can run this Docker file and spin up a container. um, and we can do docker image ls, and you can see we have the first build, which is our image of this um, fast API application. Now we can spin this up to make a container, and for that we should have some command where we have to pretty much, in a sense, what we're doing is this is port 8000, so we have to pretty much say that the 8000 port of our computer will be routed to the 8000 port of this docker. But instead of running that long command, we'll use a separate file that will pretty much, we'll write it once and you can use it multiple time again. And again, last time I heard, this 00 means that any network interface that is exposed in the computer will be used. So that instead of, I think it's to avoid conflicts with anything else, but I don't recall it correctly. And this is port 8000. I think this part has to be a bit clear for me in the future. But anyhow, let's go. Oh, okay, so it's a YML file. docker-compose.yml. That's how you do it, right? My spelling गलत हो जाता है. TOCKER compose. This is gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Okay, so it's like dict. Um, okay, okay. So we say server port 8000 host localhost database. Okay, so it's not bad. Let's look at some examples. Test build stage scripts. I mean, with indentation won't be tough, but I always prefer curly braces. Okay, so since you've already written Docker file, you're at the point where Docker can build one image and run one container. A Docker compose file or compose.yml answers the question, how do I run multiple containers together as one application? Okay, I think of it like this. Docker file recipe for building one image, Docker compose blueprint for running an entire application potentially with multiple containers. Without Docker compose, imagine your fast API app needs fast API. PostgreSQL, you have to run three separate commands then docker run, then uh, okay, lots of, yeah, with docker compose I can say services db is equal to image postgres redis this api. Okay, now you simply type docker compose up, docker's automatically. Okay, makes sense. I can go behind that. So services. So we have first service called API. We built it. Okay. Wh- why is this not like why am I not getting the indentation? Like मुझे खुद से करना पड़ रहा है. Okay, now I get it. Okay, that works. But यहाँ पे I don't get it, and यहाँ पे I don't get it. Okay. Okay. So okay, it builds it if it does not exist. I mean from the image. Okay. Okay, that's much more readable. Mm. Oh, so this is 8,000. Okay, so this should technically work because I don't have it open. I don't have the actual fast API thing running over here. So if I actually run that code to get outposts, okay, can I log in? Let's see if that happens. I can log in, and if I create a new post like this and that, if I try to get outposts, wow. Let's create a new post. I like using fast API. Using fast API just makes the whole process so easy to use. Okay. What is the ID? So post ID is 8. Let's go that like recorded. Try to get all posts. Sees pass. Number of likes is 1. Oh no, over here number of likes is 1. Uh, Interesting. I think there's a bug at our program. Seems like it's not actually listening. Post ID 7. Hmm. Hmm. It's not running, it's in use. Okay, okay, it's showing me the trace track. Okay. Hmm. Can see all the requests that we're doing, which is interesting. What's happening? Also, what is this? Get post 307. ये क्या हो रहा है? Anyhow, I can stop this by one. Okay, let's just give uh explain what is happening over here. I think YAML. Let's go through this file. The file. Okay. Okay. So this is optional, so to speak. Okay. So I can essentially stop this. Complete, and well, that's done. Right. Okay. Everything under services defines a container that Docker Compose should manage. Think of it, here are all the containers my application needs to. Each container takes care of a different thing. So you could have one container that is pretty much your backend code. You can have another container which is pretty much your Postgres instance, and you can have another container which is your Redis instance. Okay, you would mean three. Okay, this is simply the name of the service. This could have been or this or this. It's okay. The name is also important because of the containers. For example, services, your fast API can connect to Postgres using Postgres 543. This Docker tool build this image using Dockerfile in the current directory. This means build this image, then is equal to running. Okay. Then if your Dockerfile lived elsewhere, you could write. Okay, because the ports. This section exposes ports from the container to your computer. Containers have their own isolated network, so by default you cannot access applications running inside them. The ports section creates a mapping between your machine and container. This has your computer's local host will now be routed to the It's inside the container on port, then you can visit and request forward to the container come from. Suppose here that means interesting. So pretty much my computer has a port 8000 and my container has an isolated networking which is also has a port of 8000. Now normally this port is not exposed to my computer, so this is my computer and this is, let's say, my docker instance which is a container running. I could pretty much say जो भी request इस port में आएगा इसको बस मेरे container को forward कर दो and it will take care of it. Okay. um, One doubt is if I run this once it creates a container. If I run it again, does it make a new container? Or I mean, I can check this out. Short answer, no. If you run again docker compose and it already exists, it uses it. Suppose you have uh, hmm normally I think I wrote something like docker compose up. um what does docker compose d here, the d tag or d flag does. If I don't do that, what will happen? Okay, so it will run in the terminal. Yeah, okay, makes sense. So it's detached, so I don't have to worry about it. So over here I can see view in Docker desktop. I can click on V and wow, I have that and that. Okay, man, this is good, yeah. I mean, I like the user experience so far. Detach and okay, but it's still running, so to speak, and I can send it certain. Yeah, so you see it gets 200. Also, why is sending a 307 though? Like I'm seeing 307 being sent again and again. Let's set up a new user. Now I use this, and if I try to log in, see what happens. Um, I do get the bearer token, and let's try to get all posts. Again, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know. There's a bug in the code, maybe. I'll figure that out, but I'm just trying to containerize my application. So this is the main two aspects of container of Docker used in production. First being the Docker file, and then docker compose.yml. Is there anything else? So let's just let me read through this. For 90% of backend development, yes, the two core files will interact with a Docker file. How to build Docker Compose or any application. How in the protection of your Docker related things, Docker essentials. Docker ignore, very common. This is like get ignore but for Docker builds. Example, without it, Docker make without it copper and making build slower. Oh, instead of hard coding secrets, you use Compose can load these values. Volumes used to process data or things. My doubt was key. We have a .env file, which is also used while creating the image. So isn't that exposed in the container? Like think about it, because हम लोग बना रहे हैं उसको. This is an excellent question, bro. The glaze. I think I'll do that. And so I guess what I want to do is stop this. Does stop? Yeah, it does stop. I'm gonna do something like um, dot env, and then the way it says key, I can put secrets to this. I can say build, and then I can um okay, option map syntax. uh okay, I don't understand what that is. How can I do compose? Okay, so not necessarily something, but yeah, I mean, if I do that, that's gonna create certain issues. But Docker ignore, that is interesting. You know what, I'll delete this for now, but yeah, that is a good theorem. Key how we do that, because I don't want anyone to like get hang of my hmm, what the hell just happened? Okay, I was like, what the hell did I just do? Anyhow, let's do Docker container. Oh, I didn't do that. Detach, and it's in use at the moment, and this is running. Great. So now I've defined the env file. So now it knows where the env file is instead of it not knowing. Now let's run something and see if anything works. We gotta get posts for that. Nothing comes out, which is interesting. If I send login, already exists. Let's create a new post. It could not validate credentials. It does not exist. Okay, let's sign up. Let's log in. Okay, let's create a post now. Okay, post ID is 7. Okay, and let's try to get all the posts. Wow, I like using FastAPI. Create. Top beaches in Florida. Oh, I love going to beaches in Florida. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's send this, and so if I get all posts now, please work. Again, this is a sick bug because this has no reason for this to work. There is no reason for this to work. I think this is some sick prank, to be honest. If I send this again, I will see it's 9, but then okay, there's something wrong with get posts. Okay, let me just check the code real quick, chat. I can't like wait. Just stop my container. There's something wrong. कुछ तो है गड़बड़ भाई. Ay. Chat. The small bugs you make. Uh, yeah, it's small bugs. Um, okay. Okay, so this should rebuild the container and fix everything. And at the moment, if I send something, it will say, well, it shouldn't work because, well, nothing happens. But if I do docker compose up from the detach mode, wait, it didn't build it though. Wait a minute. I did change the file, chat. I did change the file. Um, uh, it should have built it, right? I mean, um, let's stop this. Um, what? Okay. Okay, I get this. I get this. So as you can see, as I said, we have changed our file. So this process will run instead of running this process because this process is not going to change. And then it's going to run this. So now what Docker Compose up will do is first it's going to take the Docker file and build a new image. Then the Docker Compose will come and say, okay, fine, I've got this new image. Let me just create a container. Okay, I'm going to detach, and now I can see that it is working, right? We have a container that is working. Uh, Now if I come to get all posts, I get nothing. Now I don't know why, because maybe the memory is not saved, but let's forget about that. Let's forget about that. Um, okay. Let's try to get all posts. Nothing happens. Let's try to create a new post. Internal server. What happened? line 47. Mhm. As you can see, work done. As this is how you can see it from here itself. What's happening? You can see that it loads metadata, and again, that's not what we want to see. We can see this is worked as cached. This is cached. This is cached. This is not cached because we had changed the source code, and I think the way they figured it out is by checking the SHA, I guess. And yeah, so now we have a Docker, another container, if I may. Um, do we have a container? Yeah, so we have a container up and running in use. Yeah, so this is now running. Uh, okay, this should not work now. Let's try to log in. We wouldn't log in because I'm thinking it's just our SQLite is not saving any information for God knows what reason. So which is kind of sad. But let's try to get all posts. Nothing happened. Let's try to create a new post. Send a request again. Jesus. What? Oh, it's still running it. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. It's like so touchy in that sense. Like now I have to figure out this. Again, you can see it's cached. A lot of the results are cached, right? That's very important. That saves us a lot of build time. Okay, so our container is up and running, and I pray to God that we don't have any issues now. Okay, Let's try to get all posts. Now we see no posts, right? We'll create a new post now. Okay, top pitch is in Florida. Let's get all posts. It's working finally. Let's make another post. Send this. Okay, so we get that. Let's try to get all posts now, and it finally works. Thank God. Um, do we have the response model out? We don't want to work on that and figure it out. Um, let's do something interesting. So we have ID is 8. Um, let's try liking something that's 7. 7 exists when you cut the. Let's go 8. Let's go 9. Post with ID does not exist. Minus that, something like that. Does not exist. Cool. Let's try to update a post. So let's try to update a post 8. And let's send this out. Right, and let's say I'm gonna change the content now. Cardio makes you muscle, right? And I'm gonna use that, and I want to send. I mean, that doesn't really matter, but let's send that. And so we have this, right? Um, Again, you can't really change the number of likes, which is weird. Let's also just say if I click on it again, not like the same post twice. So it's working after a bit of debugging, and I guess one thing that is hitting me in the face is key. Our SQLite is not saving it, and the reason why I think that is the case is, and this could prove my hypothesis, if I stop this container and if I run this container again, right? If I do this, right? Now if I come to get all posts and if I send this, exactly. So the reason why this was not saving it is because we had this container. We said, okay, we changed it. So we made it, we had this container with, bugged code. And we were like, okay, so we don't want to use this container. Docker compose to build a new image, and then it was made to a new container and this thing overwritten it. And so the SQLite started off fresh. So it was not able to transfer the data as of, so to speak. That is interesting because in a production environment, when you want a new image to be gone, okay, that is why you abstract the database away. Okay, I can get behind that. Oh wow, Docker compose down. Docker compose down. I want to do something. How to remove image from Docker. Docker RMI first build latest. Okay, so it technically does not have it. Let's just for the namesake of troubling it, post API. Okay, now if I do Docker compose up, see what happens. I guess it does. So it essentially builds it based on the Docker file. If it does not find it, if it finds the image, well, that's great. It does not has to build it, right? If it finds the image, it does not has to make the image again. It can just make the container from the image. But if it does not find the image, then it has the instruction that is required to make the image, and it just can make the image and then the container. Cool, that works. And I can do docker compose down. Okay, then I could do docker image ls. See the docker image. So Docker Compose checks if the image for the image for the program exists. If it does not, then it creates the image based on the Docker file and then spins up a container. The confusion is how does it go from an image to a container, right? As you said, we can make the image from the Docker file, but how does that image then gets converted into a container? Like on a Windows, I'm assuming because Docker uses Linux system calls, so on Windows it has to make up a Linux VM, so to speak. So just clarify on that me on that topic. I'm not even reading it. You're asking the exactly right question. This glitch is interesting. So we have a Docker file that gives us an image. The image gives us a container, and then if the container is run, it gives us a process. It's like a program. If you have gone to an OS class, you would know that there's a very huge difference between a program and a process. A process is a program in execution. Image turn now you execute or run. Docker now creates a container you can think of as an image, copy file system, add writable. No, process ID one. So we can have multiple containers stemming from the same image that could be spread across multiple servers, and those multiple servers can be interacting with a single database. Like just for example, right? If that's the right intuition to think about this. Why is this useful? Bro did not even complete his answer. Minus 10 marks. even though it's not applicable to mine because I use an SQLite, which is in memory, so to speak. But I'm gonna watch this because this is interesting, and my intuition says that, I mean, not my intuition, but the way I think about this is, first of all, let's do docker compose down. My intuition says it's just gonna do something like Postgres or something like DB, and stuff like that. Or maybe something simple as build, and like he could have a separate, so to speak. Wait for a minute. Something like that. On We could have another Docker file, right? So we could have one Docker file that creates the image for the API, and another Docker file that creates the image for, let's say, our Postgres database, and then we can find both of those, so to speak, Docker files in our Docker Compose, in a single Docker Compose, and so that it can be created at once, right? I'm so tired of writing that I'm just like dictating it. Um, I'm just so tired of typing. You're almost correct, but there's one for your API. Usually, add a doc file because packaging on per process depending on it. So, you guys official someone already has built. Okay, so this is most likely someone has built a Docker file, so to speak, for Postgres SQL, and we just download that image created by that Docker file. Okay, I mean, we're going to do that. Um, So when we are pulling from Docker Hub, it basically means someone has written the Docker file already for, let's say, Postgres, and it has a correspondingly created an image from the Docker file, and we just use that Docker image, so to speak. So yeah, okay, understood. Third-party system like Rabi and Q usually are it's a record. I see it's pretty much valid. My wife needs a new laptop. I know this is gonna be interesting. We'll watch this later. Uh, Mastering containerization, writing Docker file for Postgres Bliss. I have a bit of understanding, and I mean, I don't. This thing seems written by AI. When was this? 2023. So I mean, this is just ChatGPT. Yeah, this is. Ay, ay, ay. This seems so ChatGPT. I use Prism. Okay, I'm not gonna go too much. Let me just complete this video. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I was thinking because if let's say I have a database and I just delete the container. Oh well, I guess all my data is lost. That would be kind of sick, not gonna lie. That would be really bad. Uh, let's hint ChatGPT. So right now I'm using SQLite for my database of choice. When I kill a container, when I open a new container, all of my data that was stored in the previous container's SQLite database is now lost. How do we get around this? Does Docker has anything to help me solve this issue, or I am just lost? Whisper Flow does it fast, to be honest. Like I've been using it on my iPhone, and it's quite fast. Okay, without a volume, suppose your container looks like this. Now SQL database now, writable layer. Uh, yeah, I mean, obviously, the Docker can read it from the and write to the volume, but the volume still has its own life cycle. If you delete the container, create a new container. So, example, suppose your SQLite is stored at this, then compose station stores. Um, okay, wait a minute. Let's do this. Um, suppose, okay, wait a minute. So this is my Docker file, and this is my Docker compose. So how do I add my SQLite as a volume? I mean, I know what's gonna happen, but I just wanna see what. I mean, normally I don't like doing this. Okay, and I don't need to tell you. Assume your database is at app. Okay, so I'm assuming because this is at this level, right? This is at this level. We have to just say app and then true.db. It will say volumes, which contains your source code that can hide the files that were copied. A better approach: create a dedicated folder for persistent data. This then configure your application to use app data because your work there is this. Um, okay. Um, okay. Um, is this the path of the DB inside the container or inside the actual file on my local machine? Because for some reason, ChatGPT said you can have worked as app, the same folder named app over here, which is now creating confusion. So यहाँ पे suppose when it's a bind, suppose instead you wrote volumes and we say the current direct in the current directory, and then you go inside data, um, the path inside the container. So the inside the container you'll have app data. So your laptop. Okay, container. Okay, uh, because this is initially inside of this. Your application runs from inside. So if your SQL database Python is something like this, and the container is something like this. So bad. This is our project folder. This is our data folder, and this is our database .db. Now we have app and we have data. I didn't even do that. So to speak. Okay. Space matter. I mean, it's used for the API. So this is for the API. So we built the API code. The ports are this and that. Okay. Okay, I don't understand this. I mean, I've not used it as much, so yeah. Okay, now that's something I want to do. That's something. So we can do well. Docker image ls, Docker container ls. There's no container at the moment, so let's do docker compose up attach mode. Okay, so we do this. What is the code he said? Oh, he gave a actually good code. So we say docker x interactive mode. Okay, host API to bash. Oh my god, ls. Okay, so we have a oh my god, I want to do so many things. Okay, ls. So we have key app, pwd. So that's what it does. I think, essentially, VNV does not store the .env and there's no .env file. So cd app ls. See all those things we have. If I do cat main py, I'll see that still hello world. Man, this is so cool, right? And exit. Oh wow, that's actually was cool. That was so cool. So much. this shit just keeps getting interested. uh, if I paste that, right, so we'll have that going left. So the current directory gets mapped to app. Okay, and we have built, and built is there, and we have ports ठीक ही है. Uh, okay, so this, okay, um, let's dictate this again. So now when I have some file and I change the code of it, it does not reflect in my container unless I do docker compose down. I delete the pre-existing image. I create a new image which now accompanies the changed code, let's say in main.py, and then I create the container out of it. But I can do something like volumes, and I can mount my source code into the compose. Like, how does that work? I'm not reading. I'm not reading. Yes, and this is actually one of the biggest use of bind mounts during development. Right now, your workflow looks like this: local files, Docker build, Docker image, container. During Docker build, this line in your Docker file copies your source code into the image. Now, so if you later edit on your laptop, the Docker is still using the old copy that was back into the image. That's why you have builds the image again. Bind mounts all this. Instead of relying on the copy inside the image, you tell Docker use my local source code directly. Remember your Docker files. So Docker mounts your current project over inside the container. Now the layout looks something like this. Docker file. So this is my laptop, and app is main.py mounted over. This is inside of this. A container is no longer using the copy that was breaking. It was reading the file directly from your laptop. Now what happens? You edit immediately. Container has the new contents, no rebuild. But why doesn't uh uh okay, so this mounts this to this, and okay, exit docker compose. Okay, let's just do docker container ls. Docker compose down stops that. Okay, then docker container container ls, nothing happens. So docker compose up. Okay, no, it's not this, not this. This is not the way I wanted this to work. Let's stop this. Okay, stop that. Docker compose up build, and मैं क्या बोल दिया build. So this should build the code now. So I'm just running it blindly. I know what's happening. So essentially, instead of this using whatever the container had, it's now essentially just gonna interfere with what the computer has. But then again, you don't want to have this because you have to store the source code in the server for this to be mounted on upon. Which, again, what I think what's happening over here is it's loading all the files, or mounting it, so to speak. This may take long. Do I have a root? No, I don't have a root. Yeah, I can do root. I mean अभी तक चल रहा कुछ नहीं है, so can't really do much, but yeah, so I can just do URL, and yeah, I can just send it to this, but there will be like कुछ है ही नहीं. Anyhow, it's container, and now my container is ready, and if I send this, I should say hello world. Great. If I change, why is that like that? Well, okay, I changed that. Now I should actually refer to that. My server one. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, but okay. Wait. The reason why this is, how do I control C? Detach. Uh, if I do the same container up, because now it's attached to this, it should give me Docker hello. Okay. I think fast API needs to run that, and I'm running this. I know what that's happening. Um, I know why that was happening. Um, Dev, yeah, perfect. चल रहा तो नहीं है ना containers images in use, बंद करना पड़ेगा. बंद हो जाओ. Okay, so now I can do docker compose up build, because now it does dev, so now it will actively involve hot reload. Okay, so now it's running. Great. Which means if I detach this, because I don't want to see that. I do that. Okay, and let's do a news. ठीक है. Okay, send this. Watch how this works. If I now change this to R3, this should give me some changes. Please give me some changes. Starting development server. Scroll to bottom. It should give me those changes, because developer. Whenever you change code, oh yeah, watch file detect changes in reloading. Shutting down. Okay, Let's go. So that means the dev was the issue. Yep. Let's start this. Yeah. That overcomplicates it. You should have one source of truth. I wouldn't allow that. GitHub. Okay. Where is it? इसको क्या बंद नहीं हुआ है क्या? I think this is stopped. Images में जाऊँ तो कुछ और नहीं है, ठीक है. Git status, git add, mounted the source code to the container. Quick push. My commit messages are getting worst. We have containers. इसमें कुछ आना चाहिए. There's no data provider registered that can provide view data. Okay. Repository. I mean, sure. Where's the repository? Docker Hub. Um, Docker Hub. Okay. Wow, आपने ही वेबसाइट खोल दिया. कहाँ है? Show chart show. I'm a visual learner. Repositories, and here we are in the repositories. Okay, these are the options. Crazy. Oh wow. So I can do that. Short description. What shitty great plan is this? Anything, chat. Anything. You can push a new image to this repository using the CLI tool docker tag local image tag name. Do people even use Docker Hub, or did they just use GitHub? Yes, absolutely. I mean, privately for if Docker. I don't know यार ये क्या हो रहा है. That's interesting. I'm not gonna see that. Uh, is Chat GPT is Chat GPT pulling from this YouTube video as a source of truth? Because I've seen doesn't delete the container, it just stops the container. Okay, okay, could be. From a dot. That's actually a very good. I think the next video will definitely be on CI CD. I think this is just good, just good enough introduction to Docker Hub that I can now work with Docker on my projects and actually just fiddle around with it, try out new things, try to write my own Docker files, Docker Compose files, even though it's very tempting to use AI for those things. But yeah, I think that's a good foundation. I think this has gone really long. I think how long has this been? Oh my god, 1 hour and it's about to be 30 minutes. So yeah, I guess thank you for tuning in for another late night session with your one and only. And yeah, next video, I still have a promise that I will do the Golang JetBrains Academy video. I just have not found the time and the courage to be honest, but yeah, we'll definitely do that. I guess, yeah, till then, see you guys, and yeah, thank you for tuning in. Bye bye.